This is the Twin Cities Real Estate Investing Show. Real stories, real success in Twin Cities real estate. Join your hosts, Adam Taffel and Tim Swirzak, as they dive into the world of Twin Cities real estate investing. Together, they share valuable insights and practical tips to help both new and seasoned investors navigate the Minneapolis-St. Paul market. With a focus on relatable stories from real people, this show will empower you with the knowledge and confidence to thrive in your investing journey. Guys, take it from here.
What's going on, Tim?
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going all right. We got Liz Sibet. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I would say it's Sibet because I went to school with a Sibet, but
Okay.
I've never asked her actually. So, but I went to school with some Sibets, and that's how we said it anyway.
Well, we've got a heavyweight today.
Yeah.
In her professional sense. She knows what she's doing.
If you're ever going to be envious or, like of someone in professionally, she would be up there on the list. I mean, in terms of just sheer volume of transactions and yeah, I mean, she's flipped. Well, I looked at her bio recently and it said over 850 real estate transactions. And for a realtor, that's a ton. I mean, that's a crazy high volume. And I know from talking to her a few months ago, she had purchased 10 homes in 1 month, for example.
Yep.
Just little things like that. So I know things about Liz, but I'm really excited to really dig deeper and learn more about her because in her investing, 'cause she just does so much. The one thing about this podcast is how do we rein it in and really get specific enough? Because we could just go on and on about deals and be surface level, or can we get deeper? And I want to try to get deeper on this one and really find out, some insights.
Yeah, Liz has more reps as an agent, as an investor, as a flipper, probably than anyone else we're going to interview on this show. And yeah, I'm super excited to talk to her.
It's hard to imagine a more prolific flipper in the Twin Cities, right?
Totally.
I mean, there might be one, but I mean, I know there's people who wholesale more than she does, right? But
Sure.
But actually flipping and doing the work, she's got to be top or close to it anyway, right? Yeah. I mean, there's a few others that flip a lot, but like even still, like, Glenn Williams, for example, who we should have on here at some point. He does a lot of transactions, but probably a fraction of what she does, and he might be the second biggest that I know personally.
Well, I know a lot. We'll see how much I know about Liz, but I feel like I know a decent about who she is now, but I have no idea how she got there.
Yeah.
I'm completely clueless. So,
Without further ado, let's have Liz.
Here's Liz. Well, we can start with that. What's Lois Lane?
Lois Lane is a property that I bought in Lionel Lakes, so a duplex. That's a big project. And yeah, I think Tim was thinking about buying it at one point, and somebody else was trying to buy it. It fell through, so ended up buying that one, but it's a big project.
Yeah, big project.
That was the pool party.
No.
One.
That's totally different property, yeah.
Very cool. Well,
so for those of you who don't know, we should probably at least have Liz give an intro of herself. We just gushed about you quite a bit, but like, what? Tell us, like, I guess, maybe give us like what are you doing now, just so people can get an idea of the scope, and then let's back up and learn a little bit about how you got there with maybe the condensed version, because I think you have a little more to say than. The long version might take the whole podcast, right?
And for context, basically what we said is Liz has flipped a ton of houses and done a crap load of real estate transactions. The numbers are pretty impressive. So that's where you're coming from the gushing, so to speak.
Sounds good. So I've been flipping houses the last 5 years. So I guess what I'm doing right now is a lot of flipping houses, not much for buy and hold, and then running some real estate related companies. So a cleaning company, maintenance company, mold remediation and mold inspection company, and then helping some other flippers with their projects too.
And have you recently pivoted from less like listing of properties and more entrepreneurial endeavors outside of being a real estate agent?
Yes, definitely. Yep, the market's a little slower, and then just with all of the flipping that I've done and having some issues with contractors over the years and cleaners, I realized pretty fast that I needed to have my own people to do that.
Yeah. Can you give us an idea of the scale that you're at right now in terms of like how many how many active flips do you have, and then how many do you maybe have in the queue where you're not really working on them but like you own them? What does that look like?
So that number is kind of big. So
And we can cut seriously, like we edit this, whatever. If there's anything personal and then you think,
no, that's
you get
fine. Yep. And then are we being recorded?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So that's on the camera. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I think a lot of people who flip houses, sometimes even who have done 5 at a time, just can't believe that I have a little more than 20 flips right now. I think 4 are on the market right now. 4 or 5 are about to go on the market, but I have so many people that I keep employed full time, so I kind of feel an obligation to keep buying houses and then keeping them busy. So running the painting crews through, the framing crews through, to just ensure that everybody's able to keep working. So I think I just bought maybe 11 in the last 2 months or something like that. So that's part of that number being pretty high. And then I only sold a few.
Sure.
But some people are just like, why would you have over 20 at a time?
It is a crazy number to me too. Obviously, and you've been managing that level similar to that for a while, right? Maybe not exactly 20, but like above 10 for quite a long time.
For probably a few years. Yep.
Yeah, for a few years. That is why that's very impressive. How many people do you have working for you full time then, based to support that kind of?
So a little more than 20 people.
Okay.
And then most years I have kind of 60 to 80 something subcontractors.
Sure.
Wow.
But that's like plumbers, HVAC guys, some of those kind of people too.
Mm-hmm. Sure. They're coming in on an as needed basis kind of deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then to finish up the snapshot of Liz today, what do those other businesses look like? Within those 20 employees, that includes like cleaners and mold folks as well?
Yeah, painters too. So painters, landscapers, snow removal people. So we shift from mowing lawns and landscaping to the snow removal, and we do that for some other investors and landlords and flippers too.
That's interesting. So I think people could use that. So I'd like to promote this. I mean, some people say you should never sell. I think that's bullshit. Like, you provide a great service. I think people should know about it, and I know landlords that need that. So maybe you could mention it now, the name of the company, but let's just make sure that gets in the show notes so that like people can contact you for snow removal, because I know they need it.
Oh yeah.
Not every landlord wants to do their own snow removal, and there are a lot of scams out there. I've overpaid people on Facebook. I've had bad experiences with other snow removal. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you call that company?
Yeah, how do we find you if we want to hire you tomorrow for the winter?
So my company is Pure Maintenance of Minnesota. We have a lot of different Facebook, Instagram pages that are for the different segments of the business. So there's painting, the landscape and snow removal. It's just kind of, people can just call my phone number.
It's your number.
Well, no, it's not my phone.
Okay.
But it rolls to me. They can call so that phone number is.
You have to look it up.
Yeah, I don't remember.
We can give that, but we'll also put it in the show notes so you don't have to. Yeah.
Well, what is it? Yeah, what's
give
the
it.
number?
If people want help with any of the services that we provide, the phone number for Pure Maintenance is 612-217-4042. We have capacity to take on a lot more snow removal this winter, so we're happy to help with that. And then any of the other things people need for painting, maintenance work. Sometimes we are fixing appliances for people too. I'm very environmentally conscious, so I just don't want appliances landing up in landfills. So we do a lot of work at cost. We don't charge very much, and there's not a lot of appliance repair companies that are kind of anywhere near our pricing. So we like to help with that as well. So we know that sometimes it's not always cost effective for repairing, but we like to be able to be an affordable option.
That's one of the ways you give back.
Yes.
Good.
You can go to 1133 Hague Avenue after this podcast. I got a dishwasher. The tenants can't figure it out.
Okay. All right. So you flip an insane amount of houses. You run these businesses. You're a mom, right?
Yeah.
And is it okay if we say? I mean, we can cut this. I mean, you're a single mom, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. You're doing a heck of a lot. How do you do all this? I mean, let's talk about that for a second, because there's people who don't know how they're going to do their first property, and so tell us about that.
And to be more specific, I was going to ask the same question, but a little bit differently. What does your management team look like? Because it can't just be you.
Yeah. So when it comes to my management team, I have 4 assistants. One is a licensed contractor. She's also a real estate broker, and she's a realtor. Another person is a licensed realtor as well, who's been a realtor for almost 15 years. And then I have 2 VAs. So I have 2 VAs who are full-time, and then 2 staff who are part-time.
Okay.
So
Shout out Kenneth.
yeah.
What up, Kenneth? We share a VA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. And so people are working more than 100 hours a week to let me have the capacity. Leverage is really important. And for so many years, I was so hands-on with everything. It took me so many years to have my first assistant. Even I had some unpaid interns from the U of M because I majored in housing. So everybody had to do an internship when that was a major at the U of M. So one of my employees had kind of been on and off for 7 years. Move out of state. Do you still have a job for me? And then I'm coming back. So I had some really great folks, but there's just no way I'd be able to run things unless I had that kind of help. So it was a big step for me to let people kind of manage my day to day. I wake up in the morning and I already have on my phone what my calendar is from one of my assistants, but it's very effective and helpful. When it comes to being a single mom, I had to teach my kids kind of pretty young. I mean, my daughter at 2 years old was opening my mail because I had over a dozen properties. So she would open my mail for me. The kids, I mean, it's like for a lot of single moms, sometimes I'm speaking to single moms and it's like, here's things you can teach your kids to kind of ease your load a little bit. Because when my kids were doing dishes at 3 years old and sweeping, mopping the floor, 4 years old, like they're pretty helpful. I mean, I have my cleaners who can come in and clean, but when my kids are pretty good at cleaning up after themselves, and it helps a lot. So.
And from a long-time landlord who self-manages, I think that's actually more important than we realize, because as wealthy Americans, we give our kids so much that they actually don't learn to be self-sufficient. And then I believe this is how they get anxiety later in life. They get to college and they all of a sudden realize that they don't know how to do anything and they've never been given responsibility. So I think your kids are going to grow up well-adjusted and confident just from like sweeping floors, and opening mail and learning how to do things for themselves. So yeah, kudos.
Thank you. My kids have also helped like with projects. So they talk about the different houses or what color they were, the names of houses for the houses that they helped fix up. So then when we pass by houses, because they're there on the trash out days. A lot of the houses we buy, we just let people leave whatever they want. So the kids will sometimes pick out items. Sometimes there's kids' items. And so they're there sometimes days that carpets are getting pulled and my kids are helping sweep. So they feel like they helped fix up the house. Yeah. So it's really fun to go by those houses. And then when it comes to my car, my kids vacuum my car for me. I have so many cleaners.
My kids vacuum my car too, by the way.
That's so good. And it's just so fun to see how proud they are of themselves, seeing like the food crumbs in the car when they eat in the car, and then to see how clean it can become. And then just with the houses, we look at the before and after pictures. They saw the houses before they were done and then sometimes after they were done, because they're with me a lot. So they're with me a lot the days that I have them, so they get to be part of the process. So I feel like when kids are really independent and then proud of themselves, that it kind of teaches that work ethic that I think is pretty important. I mean, we might get into that a little later, but I started working when I was 12 years old, and I worked quite a few jobs at the same time as a teenager. So I want to instill in my kids that they still can be self-sufficient and do what they want to do.
Yeah. So if I can, because I think we could keep going in that direction forever with this, but I want to actually back up a little bit. And so because I think people would like to be where you're at now, but they want to know how you get there. Can you give us the kind of the condensed version? How did you get started and how did you get to today? How did that happen?
Yeah, go back. So, take us back to 12.
Yeah, take us back to your first, when did you... Yeah.
So way back, started babysitting at 12 years old. by the time I was 15, I was working at McDonald's and then worked another job at a nursing home as well. So I started working as many hours as were legally allowed because my mom started being out of work when I was 13. So when I was 12, she was kind of struggling, had some health issues, and then once I turned 13, it was like I was in charge to pay a lot of the bills. So I ended up, I was fortunate enough that my mom did have a house. We didn't have to move a bunch of places like a lot of my friends who lived in apartments, but I was paying pretty much all the bills at 13, 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
So once I was 16 and working 2 jobs, I was in sports and I kind of excelled. But because I had to work so much, they said, don't come to practices. It's okay. Just show up for the meets or the soccer games or the track meets. And I was kind of like an all-conference athlete at my school and things. But it was like I just had to work. So my mom didn't really come to my games. So now as a mom, it's important to me to go to my kids' games and things like that. But just knew as a teenager, my best friend and my sister, we were like, we want to live in Uptown. So once I was 20 years old, I bought my first house in Uptown. And it was because I worked all those jobs. I was making kind of $50,000+ a year as a teenager.
And at McDonald's and the nursing home?
The nursing home. And then worked at a lot of group homes. So I was a traveling like home health assistant or home health aide at like 50 different group homes. And then bought the first house at 20, and it was at one point 8 of us women a lot of us going to the U of M, only 1 shower, but it was the goal to live in Uptown. It was going to be so cool. And then years later, I ended up owning 5 houses on that same block at the same time. So definitely playing Monopoly. I owned the house next door and then other houses down the block. So kind of fun. But after buying that house at 20, I bought another house at 21, and I bought with somebody who had the down payment but didn't have a job and had a broken leg. So I had the income, but not the down payment because I'd already bought that first house.
What year is this?
So 2004, and then 2005 for the second one.
Okay.
Got it.
Didn't do a single I bought a house in 2009 that my sister and my dad now live in. I bought it for $23,000. 2009 was a really good time to be buying.
It was an excellent time.
So bought that house, and then in 2013, I did my first flip. A duplex in St. Paul, bought it for 70 or 75, sold it for 130 or 140. So kind of doubled the money on the first flip. But it was a lot of trial and error. It was, prepaying a contractor something $8,000 for a $16,000 job. He ran off with the money. I saw a news story about him that he had ripped off some family with $50,000 for their down payment. He wasn't even a licensed contractor.
Ugh.
But an inspector had recommended him to me. So I was like, oh, it's a connection. I can use this guy.
Yeah.
So then I just had an unfinished house. Those people that were on the news ended up calling me, finding me somehow like, can you sell our house? Because now we have to sell our own family home because he was going to build this other house for us. And it's just $50,000 hole in the ground. So this guy kind of affected a lot of different people and families, so I helped sell their house. But then I just realized I needed to, there were a couple other issues with other people at that first flip that, they were in, like, all of a sudden nobody's answering the phone. They have a bunch of my money and the electrician's in jail. And then going to his door and his family's like, sorry, he's had this drug problem and he's back on the drug. Just so many things that happened. So pretty quickly I learned then if I was going to do more flips, I would have to get my own people. So several years later, reached out to some old friends there's somebody from middle school who still works with me, somebody that was a friend of a friend, so we went to the same high school. So I've got a crew of a lot of people that some of us go way back.
Did they ever catch the guy?
So he ended up needing to pay like a settlement to some people and then signed an NDA with some people. I didn't end up suing, or not an NDA. No,
because I think
he's settled.
It was a settle, and then they couldn't say what all happened, or they couldn't talk on the news anymore.
Sure.
So I didn't get any of my money back, and that was kind of devastating. Except that I did okay on that first flip. A lot of people lose money on the first flip, even if they have everything go well.
Yeah,
I think I
lost like around $1,500 on my first flip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people I know lost 10, 20, 30, you even hear like 50,000+ somebody lost on their first one. So it's not something for the faint of heart, or it's good to have good resources in place, people to help. And And then the contractors sometimes can make or break things.
Can we go back a little bit? You graduate college with a degree in housing, and you own like 2 or 3 properties at this time, correct?
2 properties, yeah.
2 properties. What do you do next professionally between that and the first flip?
Well, I took a couple years off from college just because I was the landlord of those 2 places, did some of my own work on those houses. But after graduating, I tried to be a home buyer counselor, and I was an intern with PPL, so a nonprofit, Project for Pride in Living. And I was like, I want to be a home buyer counselor, and I was going to sit in a cube, and I just didn't have enough experience. So once I would get to second rounds of interviews with these really great local nonprofits and for-profits, they would say, like, you don't have enough experience. So I was like, well, I'll just get my real estate license. And then...
It just doesn't compute with me. I've dealt with home counselors, and yeah, I don't see their experience shine through.
I think it's probably...
I don't see them. I don't see them as experienced or even understanding home buying all that well. They just learned the script, is how I see it. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'm.
And I had my degree, so maybe that was
This
what they
is
said
maybe
to me
in
to
the
be
2000s.
nice.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, anyway,
Maybe
go ahead.
it was something else.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought, well, I can get my dream job if I just become a realtor, help some people. But I loved that every day was different. I wasn't just sitting in a cube and just at a computer. There was never a dull day. So kind of really liked that career, and that, 16 years later, I've been a realtor since 2008.
Nice.
So you're funding these first couple flips with the commissions of homes you've sold, for the most part.
But that was like 2009. Yeah, so I bought, yeah.
I'm just putting us back there because I feel like people who are listening are always wondering, like, well, how do you do? It doesn't. I don't have this money, so that's how she did it. She became good at selling something.
So I'm curious, and I think the audience might like to know. You're doing a lot of flips now. You said not a lot of long-term stuff. Do you have a lot of rentals, or what does your portfolio look? Do you have any hold properties, or are you pretty much all short-term flips, or what does that look like?
Right now I have 2 rentals, and I'm planning to keep at least one of them, like that I own myself. So a 15-bedroom house in Whittier, so the uptown area. Mm-hmm. And I might convert that to sober living, but it's a lot of really nice people. Some have lived there for decades. And then my caretaker sold the building to me 6 years ago or 5 years ago. He's kind of been the manager there for 30 plus years. So I might keep that one. And then I have ownership interest in syndication. So we know people say, oh, syndication's like 675 units, but it's very minimal partnership ownership.
Yeah, for sure. And so you have enough of those that satisfies that part of your investing. And plus you need some hands off, I suppose, right? I mean, you can't do all this and have not passive rental income.
I think it took me a lot of years for people to convince me to invest in syndications, because for me, flipping, you can build that money so much faster. So with flipping, it's not just 10 or 20% ROI if things are being done well. So
what do you shoot for? What's your target?
There's not really, it's not like a official method, I guess. Just that if I know the numbers will work, or just, it took a lot of years of being an agent and helping a lot of buyers to kind of know those numbers.
Yeah.
But some of the houses that I would flip, especially starting in 2020, in 2020, I had about a dozen Airbnbs, but because COVID happened, I had 2 that were arbitrage. So those were rentals. I was renting from a friend and then renting from somebody that a realtor in my office was representing as a landlord. So they let me break those leases and just lose my deposits during COVID. And then all the other ones I just sold. So that's how the flipping started, was 2020, right when COVID happened. So I had to pivot and shift. I think a lot of people sometimes hear my story and hear like multiple streams of income and things that I do, and that can be good. And a lot of people say, have multiple streams of income. But I'm a big fan of people just focusing on what they're good at, not necessarily what they love, because the people that say, do what you love, usually they're already wealthy when they say, do what you love. Like, it's easy to say, do what you love. But I think it's really good for people to focus on what they're good at, to be able to maybe do what their dreams are later. But the multiple streams of income, it's like that that's really, I mean, I think if I would have just focused more on one thing and not like so many different things all the time, like, but for some people who maybe have ADD or ADHD,
Did you look at me when you said that?
No, oh, no,
Go
I
on.
didn't.
No, because I totally have it. Go on.
I think it's kind of funny because my son became so good at cleaning cars. I was like, well, I should just start a car detailing company, and it's like, that's where my mind goes is what other company can I start that I can do better, or some of my friends or things like that. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that.
No, it's fine. You
Well,
know
what-
what? You guys, one second. We're gonna cut this. Speaking of ADD. Oh, I did press. I'm like, I don't think I pressed record on that phone. I did.
Right. Well, so tell us a little bit about where is your specialty then? Where are you at your best? Right. You've got all these businesses, but what's your core and what are you best at?
I think having a vision. So seeing a project, whether it's fire damaged or there's structural issues or kind of some major problems with it, how to polish it up and make it shine. So that vision, and then managing. I have been managing my own crews all these years. So sometimes there's people that say, I want to step up and I want to be a project manager. And at some point we might try that, but I run everything day to day, and it's what I've done for so many years. So even though I'm a big proponent of people using leverage to their advantage, that's one of the things where maybe I'm a little controlling in particular. Just I run everything. I know what's happening every day, even when people are on 6 or 7 or 8 different job sites, and then all the other jobs that we do for other people. So I think that's one of my strengths.
Construction management specifically.
Yeah, and in college, I took some classes in construction management as part of the housing major. But
did you find them helpful now? Like looking back,
Yes.
Did they actually teach you things you needed to know?
yes, definitely.
And
So,
still relevant.
yeah, absolutely.
So this is a real estate investing podcast, and so at your peak as a owner of properties, would that have been 2020? That when your portfolio was the largest, you said you owned 12, or you owned 10 Airbnbs, then I'm assuming a few other rental properties as well?
Yep, that's right, some rentals. So I think right now is close to the peak. It might have been like 27 of my own doors, but now that I have the ownership interest in the syndications, and then my maintenance company is doing a lot of the work for those hundreds of units. So now I have the most.
Yeah.
Got it. I think I misunderstood your answer before. What was it like acquiring those short-term rental properties? What types of properties were they, and how did you identify them as? Yeah.
For short-term rentals, it was mostly single-family and duplexes. And
Were they spread out? Did you concentrate on any particular areas, or what were you like? Let's talk Twin Cities here too. Like, where were they?
back then, before the regulations, I had most of the houses in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and then some in the suburbs too.
Oh, so you had how many? For those of you who don't know, Minneapolis kind of like in the middle of the night one evening decided each individual can only have one private Airbnb in Minneapolis. So you, Liz, you only get one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people were given much warning. Did you know that was coming?
Back then, I think it was, not much warning.
And how many did you have at that point in Minneapolis?
If I remember correctly, and that was 2020, at least 4 or 5. But then I was starting to shut them down during COVID when it was taking longer and longer. It was still going on.
I mean, that must have been a stressful situation. It sounds,
Definitely. And then losing over 5,000 in combined deposits that I had, and then having, just feeling bad. You never want to let somebody down. I'd never rented in my life until doing Airbnb arbitrage.
Yeah.
Because I started buying houses when I was 20. And I lived with my grandparents, taking care of my grandpa while I was a home health aide while I was in college. So something that sometimes people think is kind of interesting is in 2020, when I shut all the Airbnbs down and I sold a lot of them and I started flipping, I was buying from MLS. I think it's kind of a myth that people think you have to buy from off-market. Off-market deals a lot of times are not good deals.
Completely.
Yeah.
So I was buying on MLS, but I could identify values, and then I would buy and use OPM, so other people's money, friends of mine, friends, relatives. And so sometimes I would buy a house with no money down, sell it to a cash buyer 3 or 4 weeks later on the MLS after we just did a trash out or a really quick pull carpets or change flooring. And I was making 10 to 15,000. So those numbers are, when you're asking me about numbers, return on investment, I mean, I got a little hooked on the, over 1,000% return on investment if I put $300 in, but I made 15,000 just less than a month later. Those kind of numbers, it was like, that's a way to really grow the net worth and be able to do some other things. So most of the houses that I bought in 2020, that first year, because I sold so many Airbnbs and then did other projects, I think I had like 30 flips my first year doing a lot of flips. Went from none since 2013 to 2020, but that was helped by having all those Airbnbs I shut down. But then it was like 20, 30, 40 flips a year every year since starting in 2020. So now it's way over 200. I don't even know the exact number of flips that I've done. And now I'm more heavy on the off-market deals. But there's some realtors that find me deals, so they represent me even though I'm a licensed agent. There's just so many deals to be had. And in the last year, I've spent a lot more time networking, so I get a lot of deals that way. But I'm somebody that's really into historic preservation. I will pay more for a house with nice woodwork and beautiful stained glass windows. So a lot of people know I pay a little more than most people, so they just send me deals sometimes first. But then that means that sometimes I get really good deals sometimes.
Sure. Depending on, yes, exactly.
But I still buy on the MLS now myself. So it's kind of a myth that you should just avoid the MLS.
Well, and I like that you acknowledge that you reward people when they bring you deals, right? So you're a realtor, you could technically cut them out or at least ask them to charge you less because you're a realtor, right? But it sounds like you don't do that, right? Like you don't go to someone like Adam and say, hey, you brought the deal to me, but since I'm a realtor, I'm going to pay you half or something like that, right? You reward the person who brings you the deal, so they bring you another one, right?
Absolutely.
Plus, you're going to make money. They should make money too, right? So I like that.
I will expect my 2.7%. Well, and to talking about these off-market deals, how often is an off-market deal just a listing that either expired or canceled on the MLS? So the general public failed to think that this property was worth $275, but now that it's in your inbox off-market at $275, it's an off-market deal. I think that's where a lot of those folks are getting their data. So buyer beware.
Yes, for sure.
Because I like to kind of bring this back to Twin Cities as much as we can. Tell us about an area in the Twin Cities that you think is special right now, where people are maybe, you can't buy every house. So where should people be buying alongside of you? What area do you like for good deals or good values right now? And that could either be in a flip or a rental or whatever
Neighborhood.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different neighborhoods that I like, and I've always loved South Minneapolis so much. But I also really like those historic kind of areas. So Stillwater, Hopkins, Anoka, Robbinsdale. I love those kind of cobblestone sidewalks. I love Robbinsdale.
Okay. We haven't heard
What
Robbinsdale yet, so tell us about it.
Yeah.
What do you love about it?
Robbinsdale has that cool brewery. They have Travail. They've done a lot with some really cool, world-renowned restaurants. And then there's a lot to walk to. I think not everybody agrees with me, but right now I have 2 houses in Robbinsdale, one that I just sold. A lot of my friends still either live with their parents, and that's great, saving money like a lot of people should. It's times of inflation, or have bought close by to be close to family. So a lot of people that grew up going to school near Robbinsdale, like I did, just have ended up back there. So there's some great shops, antique shops, and then it's very walkable downtown, and there's a lot of neat historic homes there.
Kind of similar to, what's the Eat Street on the east side of St. Paul? Is it Payne?
Payne.
It has all the cool restaurants.
Payne.
It's like cheap commercial rent brings in the artists.
Definitely,
That's probably what happened there, right? Travail, the place is dope.
Yeah, really cool.
Shout out Travail.
Yes. One of the properties that I was the property manager of back when I did that in Robbinsdale, one of the chefs there had rented for years in Robbinsdale. So it's fun. Like they've blown up so much, and it's fun to go back there, and it's such a different experience. So, so I've brought a lot of people there too.
And where did you grow up specifically?
Grew up in Brooklyn Park,
Okay.
and then went to school in Golden Valley for middle school, and then high school in New Hope.
And you currently live in Robbinsdale?
No, so I live in Andover right now. So
Cool.
I a lot of times move around to my different flips that I'm doing. So I've moved a lot in the last 4 years with my kids. Moving is not as hard as people make it sound. So we've got it a little bit down to a science.
If you get it down and you have movable beds and all that kind of stuff, right?
I, similarly to you, had an Airbnb business. I did a bunch of arbitrage, and then I owned some houses. And I also would just like move where the vacancy was. And yeah, it's no way to live long term. I couldn't imagine doing it with kids, man. But if you have that energy inside you to like hustle and cut costs, like if you're feeling it, you got to harness it. Because at some point, you're probably going to want to just live in a house for a long period of time.
To me, it sounds like a no excuses lifestyle that you have, right? Like,
Or all or nothing.
you know, I hear so many people put up these little roadblocks to their success, and you just, to me, it sounds like you don't have a roadblock to your success, right? You just, we're just going to move to this other place. It's not that hard, right? Or instead of, oh my gosh, I have to pack all this stuff, and you know, there's no pity party going on, right?
Definitely. When it was 2020, my kids lived in my room with me. So my son was in a closet with no window. That was his bedroom, and he was 3 years old. My daughter lived in my room in her crib. So when we moved out, and I didn't know where we were going to go, I bought a 6-bedroom, 8-bathroom house for $815,000 in Maple Grove. It was a house that had been seized by the U.S. Marshals. So the chiropractor couple had actually done some money laundering. So the neighbors called it the Club Fed house because they tried to kick down the door, and the huge 12-foot front door couldn't be kicked in. They had to kick in the back door. So those people went to jail. I don't know what happened with their kids, but that house was in a neighborhood that was built to be all over $1 million houses. But then when the developer went belly up, then some of the houses still had to have some kind of distinguishing details, but it was a very fancy neighborhood. So I bought that house for $815,000, 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms in 2020. First house after moving out of their dad's house. Went from 1 bedroom to 6 bedrooms, 8 bathrooms. And when I was potty training my oldest son, it was like, well, there's 8 bathrooms here. It's really easy. He can go to the bathroom anywhere. So it was really nice. But then my employees came and, even just moving us in and doing videos on social media, like, look at this house. It's this like really nice house, pool and everything. I don't know if we're really supposed to talk numbers, but I lucked out with
absolutely.
that house.
We want people to know.
As many numbers as possible.
Yeah.
So that house cleared $300,000 profit. So owned it for 9 months, no payments because it was a hard money loan, super expensive loan. But because I was able to pay cash, they took my offer out of all the offers. I did no inspection. So bought for $815,000, sold 9 months later for $1.275 million.
Nice.
So that $300,000 really helped a lot for some of the flips coming up that lost money. And so, because it's not always like that. Some of us that have done a lot of flips, especially the luxury flips, will say, I made $200,000, or I heard $500,000 somebody made with a partner on a really good luxury flip. But you can lose a lot of money on luxury flips. I was, lucked out that during COVID that prices went up after that. But there's sometimes when there's been worries that I've had, because I've done a few luxury flips now. If prices go down just 10%, you can lose $100,000. That's like more than life savings for a lot of people, or it's devastating for a flip. So the luxury flips can take a lot more time, a lot more can go wrong. But that one I was fortunate, and then I just converted the pool to a saltwater pool instead of regular pool. I had to do a few thousand in repairs, added a movie theater room, so just spent a few thousand on that. Since that flip, then I've done some other ones, same thing, saltwater pool conversion, add a theater room. Those are really important to buyers, it seems like. But for the most part, most of the flips that I've done have been the kind of entry price point, first-time buyer type homes.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Can we go back to the mechanics of that big deal? Because I think people would like to hear how you did it. I mean, talk to us about the hard money loan, right? Like, so you got a hard money loan. Did you have to put any cash down, or were you able to finance the entire amount?
That one I've financed, I believe, almost the entire amount, which I've done on the most recent purchase that I bought for $875. I only put $10,000 of my own money in. Some of my lenders let me do no money down except just earnest money or whatever went in. But that very first deal was hardly any of my own money. And then all I was doing was paying the utilities and then like one tax payment before the closing. So it was very minimal out of pocket too.
Yeah. And I think people sometimes they thumb their nose at high interest rates. So I kind of want to glorify the high interest rate here. How much money did you, what was your interest rate?
On that, I think part of it was 12 or 15%. So way higher than what rates are.
So at least 12, but you think maybe 15?
I had a couple different loans on that one.
Okay, so it depends on how
I'm pretty
long.
sure one portion of it was 15%.
Got it. I love that. So you could pay 15% and make $300,000, or you could pay 0% and make zero.
Correct.
What's the better deal?
Yeah,
Right?
definitely.
I mean, I think that has to be a theme over and over again because people just don't hear it often enough. I hear people squeamish about, HELOCs around 10% or 11%. And I'm like, gosh, I mean, because I'm using it for short-term money. I'm not using those on long-term rentals very often, but on short-term rentals, I'm using them very frequently. And I'm making much more on that money than I am on my low-cost money, right? Because of this velocity of the money and how you're using it. So you can make a lot of money paying 12%.
Definitely. I'm somebody who really likes Stephen Pressfield's book, Do the Work. And it's all about like taking action, taking steps. And he says, start before you're ready. And for so many years, I was overanalyzing, just so crippled with anxiety, like a lot of my clients are. But sometimes I even, over the years, would just say yes to deals because I knew there were deals and I was going to figure out how to come up with the funding later. And once you have some experience and show some velocity, and like more people are going to start calling you and say, can I invest with you? And there's a lot of times that I've had to say, no, I don't have any projects. I don't need to. But I was kind of asking a lot of people for money back then. Nobody in my family has money or is self-made. So that was something that I had as a disadvantage compared to some investors. But I think just having that optimistic mindset and then just start before you're ready. Just do it, and the money will come. The relationships build. So that's something I think is important.
We've definitely both said yes to deals in the past few months without having any idea where we're getting the cash.
Yeah.
And you know what? They both worked out pretty well.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That comes with, don't do that on your first deal, folks. Get some experience. But
And I will say this, on both of those deals, we ended up executing different than our original plan. Meaning, like, you were going to buy the property and turn it into long-term rental. You ended up wholesaling the deal.
right.
I was going to buy it, do it as a market rate rental, and I ended up buying it and turning it into a Section 8 rental, which I had never done before, by the way. So I think it's just interesting to point out that not everything was perfect when we signed those purchase agreements. Actually, we kind of thought our plan was perfect, but we found a better one after the fact. So once you find something that's good enough, act on it.
If the purchase
it might
price
be better, but anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, if the purchase price works, everything else will follow.
Definitely. And then having those exit strategies or not being too stubborn. Sometimes I can be too stubborn to want to sell something before it's totally done. But yeah, there's always other things you can do. I did a tour of your property, the Section 8 one, and it looks great. So that was really fun to see. And just that you're like, I hadn't done it before, but it's going great.
Yeah, folks who are not aware, we host a meetup typically on the first Tuesday of the month. And you can go to meetup.com and search for Twin Cities Real Estate Investing and find us. But our last week's meetup was at a property Tim bought, and yeah, it was a good turnout. What would you change about life? Like, if you look like 5 years from now, like I have a certain vision for like where I'm going, and a lot of that has to do with like, what is my day-to-day gonna look like? Like, if you could create a different life for yourself, what would it be?
I think years from now, I'll probably know more. Did I traumatize my kids moving so much? Like some other people who flip houses were like, well, now my kids are grown and they say I traumatized them. And then other people say, oh, my kids or my, like, people that have moved a lot, they say, well, I made friends in so many different cities. It was fine. And I think sometimes CIA agents say, if you can be adaptable, you're ahead of 99% of people. So I'm teaching my kids to adapt by moving a lot. But we've moved more than 10 times in the last 4 years, living in flips, moving again. So
What are they school age yet?
yes, but they stay in the same school.
Yeah, I think that's a huge difference, right? Yeah.
So I think studies say that moving schools can be detrimental, but my kids, unfortunately, we pull up to a house, and even if I'm just putting a lockbox on or doing something for listing, are we going to move here, or can we move here? And it's so funny because they just think we could just move to any house, or I'm parked in front of a house just doing a quick phone call or email, and they're like, can we look inside that house? They just think like any houses can be looked at. So it's kind of funny because they've been through that with me. But being able to work from home, because most of what I do is just from my phone. It's a lot of communicating and managing. I think that years from now, if I haven't sold some of the businesses and I'm still working, just that I'll be able to go to every sports activity for the kids and be really involved. And that's what's great about real estate investing is it just allows you to have a lot of flexibility with your life. And a lot of the people who I've helped or I know have been able to retire sometimes even in their late 30s or 40s. And that's kind of life-changing for them.
Mm-hmm.
So you would be less, is the answer, you'd be less hands-on, more time for the kids.
Yes.
And are you saying you will maybe stay put for a while?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Because you certainly don't need to.
Yeah.
Like, you could just buy a nice house and pay the mortgage and then flip. But there's a part of you that wants to go all the way and build and build and build. And that's why you're moving around, right?
I think part of it is that I should just be staging these homes. Every time we move into a house that's not selling that I have for sale, it sells like right away. And I think it's partly sometimes people are like, oh, well, the rehabber is living in the house and knows more about the property. But for whatever reason, I've been moving mostly into the houses that aren't selling, and then they just sell right away. So I think part of it's I just need to be staging all the houses.
That is a light bulb moment for sure. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So it's so funny how it works like that. But yeah.
That's really funny.
So you do a lot of transactions. What are the trends you've been seeing in the last, let's go back just like 3 months. From 3 months to today, what are you seeing right now in the Twin Cities?
It seems like things have picked back up. I think I talk with a lot of loan officers, a lot of title companies, and they're like, yeah, things have like really slowed down and they've picked back up. So I think we'll see what happens with the election today. But I think a lot of buyers have been on the fence or nervous to see what happens. But there's still a lot of really strong activity. So it seems to me like people have more of the confidence or like, oh, this is kind of where rates are, and buying more. But on the investment side, it seems like a lot of investors still like are nervous about rates, or it just makes a big impact on what they're able to purchase. So for the buy and holds, I think some of my own duplexes like just aren't selling for what I hoped. So
yeah, a lot of disappointed sellers this year.
yes,
and I would even say surprised listing agents.
Yes.
as well.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
I talk to people who, if you don't have to sell, just don't sell right now. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah. Well, what's next on the plate for you? Is there anything changing, or are you just rolling with where you're at and just going to keep up the momentum?
So my moving truck got stolen in recent years, but I would like to ramp up doing the moving company again. So just kind of figuring out what are we going to do for the different branches of what we work on. And then I have 2 luxury flips going right now, and then one that I'm closing on next month, an $800,000 house in Wayzata that has a really cool bunkhouse that could be a yoga studio. It doesn't have water running to it, but I might add water. So focusing a little more on luxury flips,
Okay.
where usually I was only doing kind of 1 a year, that to be having kind of 3 at the same time as of next month if I don't have the one that has an offer on it right now sold. The one I did the investor pool party at last week got an offer off market, and then I ended up listing it. Just the offer wasn't good enough, and now somebody else is talking about offering today. So that one might be sold by next month by the time I have the Wayzata one. But 3 luxury flips at the same time. can be kind of scary because some of the places the property taxes are $1,000 a month, and then the holding costs when using hard money loans are, $5,000 to $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
And even if you don't have monthly payments, some of my loans have monthly payments, some I just pay when I sell. That's a lot of moving parts.
It just made me think of something. Do you have a bookkeeper, or do your VAs handle that, or because you actually have to make sure all the payments are being made? It's one thing if you are, a W-2 employee who has one mortgage, 2 car payments, and maybe a boat loan or something. Is different when you have houses coming in and out. And when is that first payment? And that is a nightmare in and of itself. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I do have a bookkeeper, and I'm very careful about that. I mean, there's one certain lender that I work with where the title company has said, I've seen him take people's houses. Like, you actually sign your rights that he doesn't have to do a normal foreclosure. You miss a payment, and he can take the house. So when it's a house that's $875,000 or something, it's like of course he wants to do those loans, and he only does them with select people in the Twin Cities. He's very particular, but those are things.
Does
to
he
be
offer
really
better
careful
terms then, or what is the, or does he, or no down payment, or what is the advantage to going to him?
That he does second mortgages. Not a lot of people do subordinate financing or second mortgages.
Sure.
But if I ever become a hard money lender,
so gap lending is what they call that, right? Like he's doing gap lending. Is that correct?
yeah, and so that's kind of risky. And when I become a hard money lender, because that's going to be another one of my streams of income eventually. It's kind of funny because some of the hard money lenders will make hundreds of thousands a year on the interest that I pay them. And a lot of them are on vacation a lot, and they deserve it. but I think a lot of people think like, oh, well, I'll be a hard money lender, but I'm not just going to take someone's house if they miss one payment for $3,000 or $5,000. Yeah. But that's pretty, that's a business plan, and that has worked for that person. So
yeah, for sure.
Any advice for someone who wants to get into flipping houses or being an agent or any of the above? Where do they start?
I say to start networking, getting to know people. I think a lot of the best deals I have been ones that people brought to me kind of exclusively, and then treating people really well. Like reputation is so important.
Yeah.
During COVID, I had 8 deals and I didn't back out of a single one. And I think all of those companies or wholesaler people recognize, like, even when something really hits the fan, like COVID, that they could count on me to not back out. I had to break 2 leases during COVID, but they were open to it, and they were like, yep, you just lose your deposit, you lose this month's rent, it's okay. They understood. So, but I'm somebody that has never defaulted on anything. I've had mortgages for the last 21 years. And so people, when they know that you're an ideal borrower, will lend money, whether that's friends.
I think that's the biggest thing, yeah. Because if you have access to the cash, you can put good deals together, right?
Yeah, definitely. So I think relationships are really key, I would say.
Are there any ways that we could use our audience to help you? Are you looking to raise money right now? If somebody hears this and they want to invest with you, is that a possibility?
Yeah, people can invest. I'm also hiring, so people don't really need to have skills. So I'm hiring we do a lot of hoarder houses, kind of trash outs that aren't necessarily really like bad or gross, and then need more cleaners. We're still doing a lot of leaf cleanup, but we're going to be finishing that up here. So I think just need some more good people to work with us. And then funding, that's great if people want to do some funding. And I think just we also have more capacity to help people with work. So if people need a cleaner or they need a painter, things like that, to reach out.
Very cool. You got anything else, Tim?
I don't. I'm really thankful that you've been here, and good to know you. And I will say this, you practice what you preach, because I've seen you at so many different meetups. That's really how we met, was through meetups. I mean, I do remember you calling me on a house, and it might have even been the $800,000 house, because it was right at the divorce time frame. I think it was that house, actually. I remember talking to you about that specifically. But I'm really glad to have gotten a chance to meet you, and really thankful that you're here for the Twin Cities real estate community. Look, go to meetups. You're going to run into Liz at one of them. Whether it's ours or a different one, you're going to run into her. So, yeah.
Tim's helped some of my clients over the years, too. Just an expert in lending, has helped a lot. Both of you guys have such a great reputation in the real estate community, too. So thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
Thank you, Liz. that was a fantastic interview.
Yeah. Talking about someone who's always in action, right? I think I hear that and like, look, not that she wasn't completely successful before this, but she exploded in 2020, like went from, I would say an extremely good investor to like an amazing investor in just a few years, right? And there was lots of action. There was, willing to fail, right? These are all themes I talked about before, but just not afraid to fail, not afraid to, and it didn't have to be perfect all the time in every transaction. She at least, mentioned losing money on deals, right? The overall is extraordinary success, but that doesn't come without failure. And so many people are just so afraid of just these little failures and hold themselves back.
Yeah, and I think there's got to be some degree of wanting to challenge herself, right? She could have just been a successful real estate agent and kept it there.
Sure.
And provided a great life for herself and her family. But there's a certain type of personality, like, ooh, I want to do this. Ooh, I want to do this. Mm-hmm. And it's not about the money at that point. I think it's just about the challenge and building something.
Well, yeah, I think she's even kind of alluded to the fact that she could make more if she just stuck in a lane, as she almost specifically said that, right? But yet she does see a lot of opportunities and places where other people are failing. And let's face it, I actually get where she's coming from. Like, I think if you're flipping houses and you want to do it at any sort of scale, you have to control certain aspects of it. And, that's part of it too. So those might not be profit centers, but in order to have the other profit centers and not pull her hair out, she has to control some of this stuff,
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty inspiring stuff. I've got a closing to go to. Mr. Jeff did a walkthrough for me so I could be at this podcast.
Sweet.
And then I think I'm going to finish raking leaves and call it an easy day. What about you?
Well, today's election day. I'm going to go vote after this. And then I've got these 2 flips that we're finishing up that I just have to make sure everything's on pace and that the little I's are getting dotted and the T's are crossed. That's my day today.
Sweet. Well, thanks for listening, folks. Check out the show notes, TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
That's it for today's show. You can visit the TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com website for show notes, tips, tricks, and other local real estate investing information. Adam and Tim would like to meet with you. To schedule a one-on-one meeting with either Adam or Tim, go to TwinCitiesRealEstateInvesting.com/schedule.